Hi friends, I hope you're doing really well and welcome back to another video. As you can tell from the title, today's video is going to be a reading vlog, but specifically focusing on books that I've already read before. In my latest video, I shared some of my bookish New Year resolutions, and one of them was rereading books. There's a quote that I really admire from C.S. Lewis, and I've definitely mentioned it before sometime on my channel, but it's to do with his reading philosophy. And I've got it down here. He says, "It is a good rule after reading a new book never to allow yourself another new one until you've read an old one in between." And he also says, "To me, rereading my favorite books is like spending time with my best friends. I'd never be satisfied to limit myself to just one experience each with my favorite people." So this idea has definitely been brewing in my mind for a long time now, and I really want to try and reread some old favorites, but I'd also like to try and reread books that I maybe didn't enjoy the first time round, but hopefully, given that I'm at a different point or stage in my life, maybe it's a more appropriate time to read it and hopefully I'll enjoy it a little bit more. I strongly believe that the time and the circumstances in which you read really do have an impact on your reading experience, and so I'm really looking forward to putting this to the test and seeing if books that I've read in the past still feel the same way to me, or if I still feel the same way about them. So what I did earlier today was go downstairs and see if there were any books that really stood out to me in my collection that I wanted to try and give another go. And I ended up with 3 different books that I really want to try and reread during today's video. So these are the 3 books that are making up this video's TBR. First up is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, and this one was a bit of a no-brainer for me because of course the recent movie adaptation has come out and I've been hearing the most incredible things about the film. So I first picked this book up around 2020 at the time that it was released, so it's been about 5 to 6 years now, and I've very much forgotten what happens in it. During this time I was still at uni and I didn't even have a Goodreads account, so I didn't jot down any of my thoughts, and I don't even know what I ended up rating the book, although I do still remember really enjoying the story overall. So I thought that it would be a really good chance to pick this one up and refresh my memory before going to watch the movie. I'm not expecting the film to be exactly the same or to serve the same purpose as the novel, but I do think it will still be good to see the director's choices and the ways in which they adapted the book into the movie. The second book I want to reread for this video is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I actually jotted down on one of the pages in this book that I finished reading it in 2021, so it's been about 5 years since I read this story as well. I remember when I first picked this one up, I was so absorbed in the lush and lyrical writing and I had a really good time with it, and so I've been wanting to revisit it and reread it and fall in love with it over again for quite a few months now. But I also remember being a little bit I don't know if disappointed is the word, but it just wasn't what I was expecting in terms of the magic system, because I was expecting it to be a lot more on the end of high fantasy as opposed to speculative. So now that I kind of know the atmosphere and the tone of the story, I feel like I'll be able to enjoy it even more. And then the third one on this list is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I think at the tail end of last year, I was talking to you guys a lot about wanting to reread Divine Rivals because I recently bought Wild Reference, and in order to sort of know what's going on in that world or maybe even spot some Easter eggs, I don't know, I wanted to try and read the Divine Rivals duology again. The first time I read this was back in 2023 and I read it as an ebook, and now I have a physical copy of it in my library. I want to try and actually go through it and tab and annotate maybe as well. I also happen to have Ruthless Vows, which I haven't read before, sitting on my physical TBR shelf, so hopefully I'll read this and then move on to that in the future. But that's my TBR for the video, and I don't really know how long I'll be filming this vlog. I'll be filming until, well, for however long it takes for me to finish those 3. Did I think that this video was going to be a 4-month-long project? Absolutely not. I'm really hooked on Earl Grey tea at the moment, so that's what I have in my little rainbow mug, and I hope you guys have some cozy drink to keep you company as well, and let's get into the vlog. Hey friends, it's been quite a long time now actually since I filmed the intro. I think it's been like over a month or something, and during that time I did actually manage to finish Hamnet. To be honest, I was thinking of just scrapping this video because I'd forgotten to film a reading update as soon as I'd finished it, and now a month has passed since I finished it. At the time of filming the intro, it still felt like we were very much in the middle of winter, but now it's March and it definitely feels like spring is just around the corner. So that's also the kind of reason why I was thinking of just stopping this video and creating a different video entirely. Being a seasonal reader means that I've sort of drifted away from the books that I'd initially picked out for this TBR. I've definitely transitioned more into wanting to read lighter novels and lighter fantasy in particular. So that's kind of the reason why I was thinking of scrapping the video and just restarting. But then I wanted to still share my thoughts on Hamnet, and so I thought I would just carry on anyway. So how did I feel about Hamnet? It really amazed me how much I'd forgotten whilst rereading it. It just felt like I was reading a new book entirely. I ended up giving this 5 stars and I just thought it was so beautifully written. It felt like I was reading a piece of art. I wrote a review actually over on Instagram, so you can check that out after as well. But I just found this book so incredibly lyrical and lush, and the way the narrative worked, it was very like almost like a meandering river. This book kind of felt like the way long summer days and nights feel. It kind of all melts into one another and there isn't a specific end or beginning. I was so groped by Maggie O'Farrell's storytelling, and I will say that the chapters, some of these chapters are so incredibly long. That sort of does help in feeling like the story never really ends, but at the same time, I'm not the best with long chapters. I do enjoy feeling quite accomplished reading lots of several short chapters. So that was something I had to get used to, the rhythm of the book. But once I realized that it was going to be a very slow novel, I was really able to just give myself over to the story and enjoy it properly. I thought that the approach that Maggie O'Farrell took with this book was so unique. The fact that she is essentially talking about Shakespeare and his family and yet never refers to Shakespeare by his name, I thought that was extremely clever, and it helped us to get to understand Shakespeare as a man, as a father, as a husband before the name of like the playwright himself. I feel like that approach helped us to get rid of any preconceptions we might have about Shakespeare, and also helped us to just put the focus and the lens on his surrounding family, so Agnes and also their children. Another thing that I forgot about this book was how much it centered around the theme of grief. This whole book is about love, but also grief and the process of grieving. And I'd completely forgotten about that and was actively sobbing at some parts of the story. And I remember Ian looking at me and questioning if I was okay. I was not okay. I was genuinely crying and weeping. So yeah, I definitely loved reading this book, and I feel like it's so worthy of being a modern classic. But another book I actually reread in the time between Hamnet and now is A Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and it's by Sangu Mandana. Like I was saying earlier, I have been in the mood for lighter fantasy, and I completely ignored the TBR stack that I was supposed to read for this video. And I remember at the time I picked this up, which was at the end of 2023, I was a little bit disappointed and I don't think I enjoyed it very much. In fact, I think I ended up giving about 3.5 stars, and I remember being really sad about it because everybody seemed to be raving about this book, but at the time I wasn't the biggest fan of it. So I wanted to give it another shot and see if I enjoyed it more the second time round, and I'm really happy to say that I actually enjoyed it so much more this time round. We follow a witch called Mika or Micah Moon, and one of the rules is that she's not allowed to be in close proximity to any other witch in the country, because there's a theory that where there's more than one witch, a lot of havoc can be caused magically. But of course this leads to a very isolated and lonely lifestyle. So when Micah is invited to teach 3 young witches at Nowhere House, she is a little bit hesitant but ends up going for this new opportunity. It's such a comforting and cozy story with a touch of whimsical magic, and I fell in love with all the different odd characters and their character dynamics, and the way in which Micah is enveloped into this cozy found family is just so precious to watch. Again, just like with Hamnet, I'd forgotten all the nitty-gritty details about this book, and so it felt like I was visiting it for the first time. And that being said, I forgot that there was quite a spicy scene. There's a chapter that has quite a bit of spice in it, so if you're thinking of picking this one up, I did want to flag that in case you don't like spice in your novels, although it is just like one chapter, so you could just skim ahead, which is what I did. I also forgot actually how colloquial the language was. There's a lot of swearing and cussing, which wasn't what I was expecting diving into a cozy fantasy, so that took me a little bit by surprise. But overall I thought it was a really lovely cozy book. It's exactly what I was craving, and I ended up giving it, I think, 4 stars. For this reading vlog, I'm planning on reading maybe one more book, and so my mind is kind of torn, or my heart's kind of torn I should say, between Divine Rivals, which was of course on the original TBR stack for the vlog, and then the other option is Flower Heart by Catherine Bakewell. Because so much time has passed from the time that I'd initially started filming this video, my mood reading tendency, of course, I am kind of in the mood to read something different. I'm kind of in the mood to carry on with the light whimsical fantasy genre and read Flower Heart. This is a YA cottagecore fantasy which feels so perfect for spring, and I remember at the time of reading it really enjoying all those floral magical elements. And it follows a girl called Clara who is a magician or a witch, or I can't actually remember, but she has the power to use flowers. However, one day she accidentally makes poisonous flowers bloom in her father's chest, and so she needs the help of someone much more powerful than her. And the only person who is willing to help her is a boy called Xavier, whom they were friends when they were younger, but they're not close anymore. So I'm kind of craving this light romance story, but at the same time I really do want to make a move on with the Divine Rivals duology so that I can finally pick up Wild Reverence, which has been sitting on my shelf just behind you guys. Actually, it's been sitting there for months now, which it's not good. I really want to get to it. I think I'm just going to take some time to think about it and sit on it for a few minutes, and then you guys will see which one of these I end up picking to read next. weeks ago, I finally finished rereading Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and I absolutely loved it. At the time I was reading this, I was actually supposed to be reading the book club book that I have with my friends, but I found myself getting so distracted by Divine Rivals and I just couldn't put it down, and it just reminded me of all the reasons why I loved it the first time. The book is actually really perfect for autumn because it has that dark academia element with all the letter writings and the letters exchanged between Iris and Roman, who I love. But even though it's spring in England, there were days as I was reading it where it just felt so autumnal because it was stormy. So I did end up, of course, giving it 5 stars again because yeah, it was just perfection. And then I promptly moved on to reading Ruthless Vows, which was book 2 in this duology, and I didn't love it as much as I was hoping to. I think because I love Divine Rivals so much, I had such high expectations for book 2 as well, and this is my first time picking up Ruthless Vows, so I didn't really know what to expect. I was constantly on my toes whilst reading this one, but not in the best way because I feel like I had to keep fighting the urge to skim over some of the passages and the pages. I think I just really wanted to get to the end of this one and know what happened to Iris and Roman. So yeah, unfortunately I didn't love this one as much as book 1, and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. But that concludes this video, and these are the 3 books that I managed to reread. Did I think that this video was going to be a 4-month-long project? Absolutely not. But I am so glad that I managed to reread 3 books and fall in love with these actually. Out of these 3 books, I knew that I was going to love Divine Rivals, but I didn't really know what I was going to think about Hamnet, nor the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. And so I'm really glad that I can say with confidence that I loved rereading all 3 books, perhaps even more the second time round than the first. I was planning on rereading The Night Circus because that was initially on my TBR for the video, but I truly feel like if I were to reread The Night Circus, we would be here until summer. This vlog took so much longer than I anticipated in putting it together, but I had a really good time rereading all these different books, so I'm thinking of filming another version of this if you guys are interested. So what did I learn after rereading these books? I learned that I really enjoy rereading books. This is something I did all the time as a child because of course I couldn't just go out and buy books all the time, so I'd usually reread my favorites and just go over them again and again and fall in love with the characters. And having you guys be accountable for me as I did this mini reading challenge was actually really good for me because it helped me to finally prioritize rereading books on my reading list, and it's definitely put me in a rereading mood because now I just want to go through my entire collection of books and just revisit them, discover new things to love, and also give books that maybe I didn't love the first time round another go. Either way, I loved filming this vlog and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and I'll see you all soon in the next cozy video. Bye friends!